MMA Rants and Raves, Fedor Emelianenko versus Chael Sonnen in the Bellator World Heavyweight Grand Prix. Guys, let's talk about this fight. Holy smokes. Did you guys see that fight? Did you guys see Fedor in action? Oh my goodness. I mean, that was just really extraordinary. I mean, here we had a guy, I mean, he looked like he was the worst he could look. I mean, reckless, throwing wild punches, not well-rounded like he was. And now he's like unbelievable. I mean, he came into this fight, it looked like it was deja vu was happening again. And let me tell you something, Mir looked like he was in really good shape. He looked really good at the beginning. And he had Fedor hurt. Fedor went down and it looked like it was over. But he gets back up. He recovers. And then what happens? He gets back to his feet. They go into a clinch. And then Fedor has this beautiful trip. I mean, Mir went down like a sack of potatoes. That's a big heavyweight, and he's a good grappler. He's not easy to just throw down like that. That was very impressive. Come on, guys. I mean, when was the last time we saw that, right? And he gets back up, and then we see things from him that I can't remember seeing. He threw two hard knees, Fedor throwing knees, two hard knees to the midsection. When was the last time we've seen Fedor using his knees or his legs at all as a weapon? That was really something to see. And then, you see them break again. Mir still looking good, determined, and then Fedor going to his striking. Throws some punches, lands one, and then Mir looked like he was either going forward or he got hit. And then at the same time, Fedor throws this left hook as Mir was going forward. And you know, especially as heavyweights, when the punch is going forward and the fighter is going forward, it just increases the impact of the punch. And Mir was out. That was really something. So what do we have here? We have a Fedor using his wrestling, his grappling, his legs, using knees and his hands. A well-rounded Fedor and a 240-pound Fedor. When was the last time we've seen that? I mean, he usually comes into a fight around like 220-something. 240 pounds? He didn't even look that small either. He usually does against almost everyone that he fights. So I have to say, this was impressive. And let me say something else. You know, there was talk about Fedor not being the same, and I agree, he's not the same fighter. Well, before this fight. But you also have to talk about Mir. You see, I think that Mir is the same fighter. I mean, he looked like he was in really good shape. He was effective at the beginning when he got Fedor down. It looked like he was going back to being Frank Mir. And keep in mind, he's 38 years old. And I want to say that, you know, 38 years old for a heavyweight can still be prime. I mean, for lighter weight classes, it's not. But for a heavyweight, they really rely on experience more than lighter weight classes, because heavyweights are lumbering. They don't move as well. They can't train as well. They don't have the cardio that lighter weight class fighters do, so they can't spend as much time in the gym. They just can't do it, or else they can get hurt. They take longer to learn, in general, than lighter weight classes. I mean, these guys are cardio for days. They can spend so much time in the gym, learn. You can see the fights last longer. They display more technique. They have more speed. They can move around better. And that's just the way it is. So experience is really important for a heavyweight. They take longer to learn, and the experience is an important factor. And at the same time, heavyweights have the longevity for their experience to come into play. You see, the problem with lighter weight classes is by the time the experience adds up, the fighter is aging to a point where the speed and coordination is going down. So in this case, a 38-year-old heavyweight can be really good. There are fighters that have become champions at around that age. So, I mean, he looked good. And keep in mind, when he left the UFC, he was making a surge. You know, he made this comeback, and he was doing well. And even the fights that he lost before the Mark Hunt fight, they were decisions. They were close fights. I mean, he was looking good. When he left the UFC, he must have been ranked maybe number 6, I don't know, 7. It depends how you rank fighters. He was a top-ranked heavyweight by the time he left. So just think about it. I mean, I think that the Frank Mir that Fedor knocked out, I mean early, is the same Frank Mir that defeated Brock Lesnar, that defeated Mirko Cro Cop, that defeated Roy Nelson, that defeated Nogueira, Tim Sylvia. I just think he's the same guy, or maybe even better. I don't think Mir lost anything. I mean, when he faced big, strong guys or hard hitters, he got knocked out. It's happened several times to him in his career. I mean, that's just what happens. That's the type of fighter he is. He doesn't have the greatest chin. I mean, he's a tough guy. He can take a punch, but when he faces very powerful strikers like a Mark Hunt or a Junior Dos Santos or Josh Barnett, it can happen. And now he faced Fedor, one of the hardest hitters ever, and this is what happened. So, I mean, this is another really big name on Fedor's resume to have a victory over, especially getting it early. I mean, that was very impressive. Guys, a well-rounded Fedor, finally. I mean, how long was it going to take? Was this, I mean, did Fedor come to his senses? You know, he figures, look, this is what I have to do. You know, go back to what's making you successful. I mean, if he had a game plan like this against Mitrione, instead of just colliding with him like that, you know, go for the grappling, do something like that. Now, of course, he couldn't recover. Mitrione is an explosive striker. I mean, his power is crazy. A win over Derek Lewis. I mean, that was similar to what happened with Fedor. Two guys colliding, and it seems like Mitrione wins those exchanges. So you got to be careful with him. Mitrione's weakness is his ground game. I mean, he doesn't have good takedown defense, and Fedor, you know, look at that trip. I mean, he could do that to a lot of guys if he could do it to Frank Mir. Very impressive. So, I was very impressed with his performance. I mean, really something. Showing things that I haven't even seen him do before. We're seeing that. Look at Andrei Arlovski. Very impressive performance. He's doing it already at his age. I mean, he looked fantastic, showing off wrestling moves that I haven't seen before. So fighters just learn new stuff even when they get older. That's what I say about heavyweights. Heavyweights take time. They take time to learn things. It's not like a lot of weight classes. You don't see often a very well-rounded heavyweight. You generally don't see it that often. You usually see it in the lighter weight classes. So this is a very impressive performance. And now he's going to face Chael Sonnen. And honestly, I don't know what this guy is doing at heavyweight. I mean, he had some good performances at light heavyweight. He did okay in the UFC at that weight class. But heavyweight, I don't know. Now, of course, Fedor is not this very big heavyweight, but now he's bigger. Now he's coming in at 240, and it's likely he'll come in at 240 again. As far as Sonnen, I don't know how big he's going to be. That's another thing. I mean, he's not a small guy. Even at light heavyweight, you know, he's pretty big. But a heavyweight, I'm not so sure. I mean, we saw what Fedor can do. We saw the grappling. Fedor's always been a really good grappler. And then, of course, he's got that power. And you see, Sonnen, he's a cerebral guy. When he faced Vanderlei Silva, when he faced Quinton Jackson, he was taking this fight to the ground. He did not want to trade with those guys. But I just don't see him being a heavyweight. I was thinking maybe they should get back Bigfoot Silva or something, and there should be like a rematch with him and Fedor. That would be interesting to see, like a revenge match or something, because you know, he's a real heavyweight. So, I mean, I don't know what Sonnen's game plan is going to be. He's going to have to try to take Fedor down. Can he? Possibly. His wrestling is that good, but he's going to have to. I mean, if he lands anything on Sonnen, this fight could be over very quickly. The reality is, I just don't see Sonnen as a heavyweight. I don't remember seeing him competing as a heavyweight in MMA, and now he's facing a resurging Fedor. So, I'm going to go to prediction in this fight. I got Fedor to win this fight. I would like to know what you think about the fight. Please leave your comments. Please subscribe. Please like up this video, and thank you for tuning in.